All right, it seems like the cleaning up is endless. And as you kind of look at your project, go back and forth, you'll find other things that need to be cleaned up. But you will get there. And the reason I piece it all together before I clean up the bulk of it is so you're not wasting your time cleaning out and erasing around pieces that don't actually matter because they're not showing. But I've got enough to fulfill the anatomy of my assignment here. Now I can clean up on the interior a little bit. And the first thing I can do is if I see something that just doesn't belong, like this blade of grass, I can see if there's something already behind it. And there is. And so then that gives me the confidence to do a soft-edged eraser and just take it out. Also, because I have something behind it, this is how we're going to transition. I can use that soft-edged eraser, a little bit bigger, and I can start biting away at the hard edges. Because in organic creatures, you don't have that many hard edges. And once you've softened the edge, then you can take the opacity down a little bit, but you don't want to ruin your focus. But you see, just by blending it this way, I'm doing a few things. I'm helping the colors match. I'm helping the lighting get more averaged across the two. And I'm also transitioning between the two textures. So a very light touch. Take the edge off some of this. But you need to make sure always that there's something behind it. Otherwise, each time you erase, you're going to lose content. And you could get back to that background. You see, so I don't want to erase that far down because there's nothing there to back it up. So that already starts to look a little bit better, a little bit more believable. Same thing here with this head going into the neck. I've got something behind it. In a way, this looks pretty cool. Wonder if I even need that rhino head. Yeah, but there's certain things about it I like. And so I can start transitioning with that eraser, nice and large. Start with 100% opacity just to take the hard edge off when you're blending textures. But then you can start going to softer and softer. And try to blend it so that the lighting makes some sense. Feels like there's a fold in the neck now. Same thing with the jaw. And I've got a lot of elements here. Just blending back. Now all of this is the same as what we did with the landscape assignment. It's just for a slightly different purpose because we're not pushing this into a space, an environment. We need to make sure everything stays pretty sharp and in focus. We can't just blur it into the background. Okay, now the adjustments that really will help a lot are the color adjustments. So I'm going to take this rusty red head and I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Color Balance, and And I'm going to push the midtones away from the reds and the yellows a little bit. See, automatically that helps. Put a little bit more cyan in it, a little bit more blue, maybe a little bit more green. But the thing is, I want to work between the two. I don't want to change this to match this. I want to work both of them towards an average. And it doesn't mean you take all the color out, it just means you work both sides. So now I'm going to take the green scales and I'm going to push those a little bit more towards red. See, so now they seem a lot more believable together. And I'm only really working on the midtones here. And I can say I like the yellows in there, so I go back to this and I'm going to put more yellows in. Color balance, one of my favorite tools. Push the yellows, and maybe just in the highlights I want to push the yellows. In the midtones, maybe I want to go more towards the middle. A little bit more cyan. And then in the shadows, maybe I want to go more towards greens. No. Magentas, blues, because you're not really going to tell what you like until you mess with it. And I get to give it a little bit more dimension that way. Okay, then same thing with the jaw. Color balance. This is a much more subtle tool than hue saturation. And you have preserved luminosity on there, so you're not going to be messing with the color of your, or the value differences between your lights and darks too much. And then the lip. And you see I'm just staying on the move tool with auto select layer on, so I can just hop between these layers pretty easily. And you're just shifting them a little bit in the directions you think are helpful. Pushing them to the edges is always going to look very weird. Okay, and then you use your soft transitions with erasing. Bring some of those textures together where they overlap. I still haven't really actually composited in an eye, but that dark blur is kind of working for the moment. And maybe I don't composite in a crazy eye for this project, though that's one of the things I usually like to do. Alright, so now these colors are working pretty well, but back here it's a little tricky because it's so bright there and there. So now we can also do a new kind of modification, which are the dodge and burn tools. Same thing like erasing and like using color balance. You want to choose the midtones. You want it very low opacity, or exposure, probably lower than 20. And you want a nice soft brush. It's fairly large. And if you burn, it will darken the midtones. And if you burn the highlights, which is what I need here, so they're not so bright, it will just darken the highlights just in that layer to help the lighting match. Because there's no reason it should be light behind this jaw when that jaw is so dark. So now I can go back to the midtones and darken it, deepen them a little bit more. And then if I need to, I can even go to the shadows. Now burning shadows can go really dark really fast, so you want to be gentle with it. Always keep in mind what layer you're on. Now I'm going to burn the midtones right here of this jaw so that can blend in a little bit better. and you just have ultimate control. But right now it will only affect the layer that you're actually on, because we still have all these layers separated out. So if I need to add some darkness to this lip, I can burn that in. And you see how that's all working pretty well. Maybe burn the highlights a little bit bigger. And this is only at a 13% exposure, but it's still pretty dark. Builds up pretty fast. Around these teeth. So doing color adjustments. All right, so that's looking pretty believable. The rocks up here, same thing. If I want to make this one a little bit more on the warm side, I just push its midtones so that I can blend it in a little bit better. Because I like this color. Then I can find certain edges, even though rocks are really hard textures, to kind of blend into each other, to absorb. I don't want it to look too cloudy, so the other option I have, I can keep all those hard edges. Whoops. Back a little too far. And I can dodge and burn. So I'm going to burn some of those highlights down on this rock. So it matches the lighting a little bit better, especially at these edges. And erase it away where I need to. Where I have substance behind to overlap. All right, that's looking pretty good. A little bit more of that crystal come through. Now we're going to get better and better at these techniques. And we'll have chances to improve upon them as well. So if I want a really hard cut and I don't want to switch out of my eraser brush, I can just use the lasso and delete as well. Okay, there's that turtle shell underneath. Now the turtle shell I'm going to dodge and burn. And for something as big as a turtle shell, I can even just go to image adjustments, and instead of adjusting the color, I can adjust the levels. And I can darken its midtones or limit its highlights. So it's not quite so bright everywhere. But then my favorite is the color balance, and I can warm up that shell a little bit. Bringing out the reds and the yellows subtly. Putting a little bit of blues in the shadows. So you just have to have fun matching the colors so that when you erase the textures, they just look better. And then I can burn on the shell where the rock integrates with it.